Cassandra. I'm Eliane's daughter, and I was telling a story the other day about this situation that happened at work, and she asked me to repeat it for this story. So I supervise a gymnastics program, and I had an instructor that was having a hard time with the class, so I stopped in the other day to help out a little bit. It's a class of 5 to 7-year-old boys, so no wonder she was having a little bit of a hard time being 16.
Nash wants to be in the video. This is Cassandra's puppy, who I watched during the day.
So we started doing the obstacle course. It's a ninja class, so we do gymnastics, running around, agility, strength, all kinds of fun stuff. They were trying to balance on this rolling mat, and so he gets up and he balances and he falls down. And I was like, great job. And it's a circuit where they have to just keep moving. So I'm like, good job, you did it, keep going. Because I was trying to keep them moving. And he fell down and he started crying. And I was like, okay. And I was like, no, it's all right, you did it. You got up, you balanced, keep going. And he wouldn't say anything. He kept his hands in his face, or his face in his hands, and he was not responding. And there's this huge line of kids behind, so I scooched him over a tiny bit so that they could keep going. And I was like, you have to keep moving. There's kids behind you. You can try again. It's totally fine. And he wasn't responding. And I was like, you really wanted to try again, huh? And he starts nodding his head and his hands like this. And I was like, oh, okay, so you really wanted to try again, and you thought you could balance longer. And he was nodding his head, hands in his head. And so then I was like, well, you can do it next time, no problem. Get up and keep going. And he still wasn't really having it. So I was like, well, I can't remember exactly the words that I used, but something to the effect of, you really wanted to try again, and how do you feel about getting to try 10 more times? And he looked at me, he finally made eye contact, and he looked up, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, in order to try 10 more times, you have to do the whole obstacle course, because there's kids behind you, and you can't just keep doing that obstacle. So do you want to try it 10 more times and go around 10 more times? And he was like, and he had no tears on his face, and he got up and he ran around 10 more times. So I think that was the entirety of the story.
Yeah.
But I guess to demonstrate the clear, benevolent leadership that my mom talks about a whole lot.
Because one, it was just an example of how it's done, how Cassandra never gave up. She never gave him what he wanted. But
not an option.
But she empathized, and she clearly made him feel like she was on his team. Mm-hmm. But she was very clear and very firm, but very loving and very supportive. Mm-hmm. And that's how, it works with all kids, not even our kids. So I guess that was one point, is how, kids just really respond to that.
Yes. And
then the other point is that whereas so many of us have to work so hard at figuring it out, I can't tell you how many times Cassandra cried when she was 2 and I was trying to figure it out because I didn't know how the hell to do it. And I was trying it, but it was so choppy, and she would cry, and anyway. But when they're raised that way, all 3 of my kids have it effortlessly. And they're all like, I don't understand. I don't know why I'm the only manager who doesn't have problems with my employees. And I'm like, oh, I know why. It's called clear, benevolent leadership. And Audrey's like, what the hell is that? And then I describe it, and she's like, oh yeah, that's what I do. And so you learn it, but then you pass it down to your kids, who then have it with their kids, and it just runs down the generation. So anyway, that's the power of really owning clear, benevolent leadership.
Yes.
Thank you, Lovey.
You're welcome.